to talk about egg donation. And, this is a topic that's been in the news quite a bit, and I think there's a lot of mystery surrounding it, and sometimes it's not donation, it's for money. And Michelle, I just want you to start out right off the bat. Welcome to the show. And kind of start at the beginning. What is it exactly people mean when they hear that egg donation?
Well, it's often advertised as egg donation, but in the United States, it's currently illegal to pay people for donation for research. So for research, they have to donate, but for IVF clinics, it's not donation. Women are paid a lot of money to go through the process, and they're paid because it's a pretty extensive process.
And you're going to kind of explain what that means when somebody decides to do this. Mm-hmm. Okay.
A lot of young women are targeted. A lot of women in colleges. If you go to any college newspaper, you're going to see ads for, make a family's dreams come true. Those kind of things. You see them in all the papers. Hitting them up with the
emotional, wouldn't you like to be a good person?
Yes, and then right underneath it says, make up to $5,000, and it sounds so easy, but the process itself isn't that easy. Women can then go and they can call the number or go through, they call them egg brokers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but there are egg brokers, and then there are clinics that do their own recruiting and processing. But once a woman is approved to become a donor, she has to go through health screenings, make sure she doesn't have any diseases, things like that could be passed on to a child through her eggs. Once she's approved, she begins a month-long to 2-month-long process before the eggs are ever extracted. And that process involves daily injections of several different drugs. One involves pretty much shutting down the ovaries so they don't release any eggs. Another drug matures the eggs that are developing. So in a woman's natural cycle, she'll release 1 egg, sometimes 2 eggs through every cycle. Well, these drugs cause the ovary to develop and mature 10 to 20, sometimes 30 eggs in one cycle. And then it forces the ovaries to hold on to them until the clinic can then go in and extract the eggs. So after a month of giving herself daily injections, she then would go in, and it's usually done under general anesthesia.
Which is not risk-free?
It is not risk-free.
No.
That's very true. And they will insert a needle through the vaginal wall and through using an aspiration or suction, suck out each egg. And then those eggs are then used for IVF treatments. And
which stands for?
In vitro fertilization.
Okay.
So creating a human life outside of the womb, sometimes for people who are unable to conceive naturally, there's a whole different variety of reasons people use IVF for. But for women that don't create their own eggs or are unable to, they will often use a donor who is, like I said, been paid several $1,000s. The other interesting aspect, as I've been learning more about this whole process, is once a young woman has successfully donated, it kind of shows that her body can do it. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's body responds to the drug. Right. I mean, there's a lot of possible difficulties. Well, if a young woman's come through pretty much with a clean bill of health, at that point she's then considered a prime target to do it again. And the more you do it, the more you get paid. And there is a story of one gal who did it over a dozen times.
Oh, no. And her children are out there somewhere.
Yes. And she says that doesn't bother her, but she's okay if they sometimes try to find her. And it's a really interesting, it really does, there's psychological impacts, there's physical impacts, there's huge implications to the whole process.
Well, that's what I was going to say. In doing this research, do you think women fully understand the risks involved in this drug? And I know that there's some stories online. People have written in, my daughter died, my daughter had a stroke, and all of this information. Do you think they're really understanding what they're doing?
I would say no. It's amazing. There's a lot of websites that have communities for people, surrogate mothers and egg donors, and they talk in these rosy, glowing terms, but there's a whole other side of it of people who aren't fellowshipping on those online communities because it was a disaster for them. And the organization that produces the book, Our Bodies, Ourselves, they're a very feminist, very pro-abortion group. Yeah, the book's
really
been around
popular.
Quite a few times, yeah.
Yeah,
and
radical.
Very radical, not at all pro-life.
No, they're not people we would normally think were on our side.
Definitely. Yeah, right. But we agree with them on something. This is bad.
Interesting.
Last year in the fall, they did a summit, and they found that the FDA had over 6,000 complaints towards the drug Lupron, which is used as part of this process. And included in those 6,000 complaints were 25 deaths.
I don't believe it.
And the drug Lupron, when it's used,
people.
Yes, these are healthy young women. They go through a physical screening before they begin this process. So these aren't feeble, people that could succumb to Tylenol. It took something to take them out. But part of the problem with this is Lupron is being used off-label.
I was just going to say, isn't that off-label use of that drug?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was created for treatment of endometriosis and some other things. And they've discovered that it can work in this process, so they're using it. But there's no tracking of these women that it's being used for egg harvesting to see if how it's impacting them at the time, during the process, and afterwards. We don't know where these women are and how the drugs have impacted them. That's a huge problem.
That's really scary, and to think that, well, what I guess the logical thing next to ask is, you've got your college kids that, of course, it's in, and I know it's in every newspaper. I went to Portland State and I saw it. Our own OHSU was running the ad.
Yes.
And I was shocked. But anyway, we're going to wind up here in a minute or so, but we're going to see a video that's so cool that explains more about what you're talking about. But really briefly, do you think this could be something where poor women are exploited?
Oh, especially college students.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see a lot of girls will say, well, I started out wanting just to get the money, but now I'm thinking it might be about something more. I really want to give somebody a baby.
Oh, boy.
That's something we can talk about after the video of why people are willing to take the risk.
I think that's really important to talk about the risks and what this drug really does and what this whole process is going to mean, and also for those future children that are born from this. So anyway, thank you. And we're gonna watch a really neat video on stem cells, and it brings up a lot of discussion, and we'll be right back.
The stem cell debate is filled with controversy, questions, and confusion about science, cures, and how we should treat human life at every stage.
While we prolong the stem cell debate, millions continue to suffer.
And stem cell research offers hope of a cure.
The embryonic stem cell fervor, I guess is the word I'm looking for, has blinded people to what else is available.
And as an individual with a disability, I don't want precious resources that could be dedicated to adult stem cell research to be diverted into very iffy and not very promising embryonic stem cell research.
How the people of Michigan resolve the stem cell debate will impact countless lives, not only patients seeking cures, but young human beings some want to destroy, searching for those cures. It's time to learn the facts. The science of stem cells, finding cures, and protecting life. Viewed through the microscope, stem cells don't look like much. But stem cells are remarkable building blocks of the body that can repair or even replace damaged tissues and cells. There's a rich supply of what's called adult stem cells, found throughout the body, in bone marrow, fat tissue, even the amniotic fluid that surrounds and protects unborn babies. One of America's leading adult stem cell experts works right here in Michigan at Wayne State University School of Medicine. The focus of Dr. Jean Peduzzi Nelson's research is learning how adult stem cells can be used to help paralyzed people walk and function normally again.
Actually, it's not the focus of my life, it's the obsession of my life. My obsession is to get a treatment out there for the patients that have severe chronic spinal cord injury. And this is what I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Her persistence is beginning to pay dividends. Research she's conducting in the lab is helping patients get out of their wheelchairs or do things no one thought were possible.
So far, this treatment has worked better than any other treatment that we have tried. And so I'm very excited about the potential of this.
Many people don't know that adult stem cells are being used right now to help people suffering from all kinds of conditions, including heart disease, sickle cell anemia, multiple sclerosis, and much more.
Pick it up. Pick it up. Let's go. Pick it up.
The healing power of adult stem cells is bringing new hope to spinal cord injury patients like Katie DeHaan and Jenny Rummelt. Tragic car accidents left both Grand Rapids women paralyzed from the waist down. Doctors gave them little hope of recovery. But intense physical therapy sessions combined with a new adult stem cell treatment only available overseas means Katie and Jenny are experiencing real progress.
Just like overall, I was like totally different. I was like 100% stronger in everything I did.
And I mean, it seems like something's always either improving or getting stronger, or I'm feeling different things when I'm putting weight through my legs or weight transferring, and a lot of little things that you wouldn't think about and you would take for granted, I'm able to do now. What is my end goal? Is to walk again.
There are many reasons to be encouraged about adult stem cell successes, but it's another kind of stem cell that gets most of the news media's attention. Embryonic stem cells are harvested from live human embryos, which are then destroyed in the process. Human embryos occur naturally in the marital act, when sperm from a husband unites with the ovum, or egg, of his wife. It's the beginning of human life. Embryos can also be created in the lab using in vitro fertilization, or IVF. One IVF procedure requires a technician to use a needle and inject sperm into a human egg. The new embryo is then implanted into a woman, where it continues to grow until birth. Thousands of extra human embryos are created by the IVF industry, then frozen and stored each year. Some people think we should conduct experiments with them. Some scientists claim embryonic stem cells offer the best hope and promise for finding cures. But there are real scientific problems with embryonic stem cell research that no one seems able to solve. In fact, not one successful cure or treatment has ever resulted from embryonic stem cell research. And scientists now say cures may not emerge for decades, if ever. Embryonic stem cells are unstable and tend to form uncontrollable tumors if transplanted into the body. Experiments also show our body's own immune system may reject these cells if they're used to replace diseased or injured cells. To try and solve that problem, and to create still more embryos for use in the laboratory, scientists want to artificially create or clone human embryos. Cloning is known by another name, somatic cell nuclear transfer. It's the same process used to create Dolly the sheep. Here's how it works. Several eggs are surgically removed from a woman, and the nucleus of each egg is removed and discarded. At the same time, an ordinary cell, for example a skin cell, is removed from someone's body. That cell's nucleus or DNA is then transferred into the human egg. The act of cloning is completed when the scientist stimulates the cell with a chemical or electrical charge. That triggers cell division, quickly producing a multicellular embryo called a blastocyst. This is the same human embryo conceived naturally by husband and wife in the marital act. The same human embryo created in the IVF process. All of them may be capable of growing into a full-grown child. What makes this cloned embryo different is what happens next. It is quite literally a matter of life or death. Inside the blastocyst are the coveted stem cells, but to harvest them, the scientist must always manipulate and destroy the human embryo. If human cloning like this becomes mainstream, the destruction of human life will be repeated on a massive scale.
The cloning research that the cloning researchers desperately want to do will require, millions of